Cassidy the Carpenter, who I believe is running for office and who I believe was looking to go to Ukraine to do some on-the-ground reporting. Last week, nobody was saying anything about biolabs. Then once it's in the media zeitgeist, everyone clamors to have an opinion one way or the other. Biolabs people, did anyone pay attention to Iraq? Good question. Remember when there was Russian propaganda that the Russians had taken out biolabs in Ukraine? And everyone's like, that's Russian propaganda. There are no biolabs in Ukraine. And I had a wonderful discussion with someone on Twitter. It started off, Russia taking out biolabs in Ukraine is Russia propaganda. There are no biolabs in Ukraine. Then you had Victoria Nuland confirm, I think it was before Congress, that there are bio-research facilities. When asked a question by Marco Rubio, and I did a breakdown of this, I posted the highlight to my second channel, third channel, Viva Clips. So go ahead and subscribe there if you're not already. You know what? I don't even care. I don't use that. I never use that email account. I obviously didn't. And it's better off you spam. Don't spam it. I'll go look. I'll go look now. I'm going to look at it and use it as a quadrutiary backup email address. But I just wanted my thesis. Victoria Nuland answering a question of Marco Rubio, which was a direct question from Marco Rubio. He said, are there biological weapons in Ukraine? There are biological research facilities, and we're actually very now scared that Russia might take it. It goes from Russia propaganda, they don't exist, to they do exist, and it's going to get even worse because it's going to be clear what they did contain and who was funding them, because we now know that they existed there by and large because of American intervention, American facilitation, American funding, American logistics. And so it will literally go, and let me see if I can get this up here. It's going to be worth it. Share screen, Twitter. I think we can go here. Is this, okay, you know what? I'm not going to take a chance. But bottom line, I said it's going to go. You know what? No, I can't take a chance. Let me do this here. I'm not that dense that I can't figure this out. Let's go back here. No, I am that dense. Back here. Okay, boom. And we'll just go to the, here we go. Biolabs in Ukraine, Russia propaganda. Okay, there are biolabs in Ukraine, but they're not biological warfare labs. Okay, they are biological warfare labs, but they're not controlled by the US. Okay, the biological warfare labs are controlled by the US, but they're for research. And I had this discussion where I put out a tweet that said, you know, America putting biological research labs, chemical weapons in Ukraine puts Ukrainians at civilians at risk. Whether you say it's their fault or not, when you put biological weapons in a country, you turn that country into a threat to any other country. And so whether or not Putin is the aggressor, is the violator of boundaries, is invading Ukraine, there's a difference between placing blame and understanding why something's happening. And by virtue of putting or facilitating the existence of biological weapons or research facilities in Ukraine, you are putting people at risk. You are putting people at risk of rational or irrational aggression from aggressive neighbors. And then I had this long discussion with someone who said, that's a fake tweet, Dave. They didn't put facilities there. They didn't put facilities there. And then sends me a link of a 2005 treaty between, was it 2005 or 2015? I think it was 2005, between Ukraine and America and the Department of Defense, that between the two of them, they're going to agree on locations. America, Department of Defense, is going to provide logistics, electronics, communications, finances, training. And I said, look, we go back and forth. They're not there. Okay, they're not there, he says. They didn't put them there. Here's a treaty. I was like, even under this treaty, they're financing them. They're coordinating logistics. They're coordinating equipment. They're agreeing on locations. I consider that to be putting them there. So you may disagree on the rhetoric. You may disagree on the term. They weren't putting them there because they were already there. Some existed before. That's right. There is no doubt some of those facilities existed previously. There is also no doubt some of them did not. And by entering this into this agreement, this treaty, and facilitating the operations of, that is putting them there effectively. You may disagree. They're not putting them there. They're just facilitating whatever. And then it goes, well, you didn't ask why. why they're there, you know darn well America is going to say, we need to do the research because Russia is a hostile neighbor and we need to have the ability to respond to a potential attack. You know, Russia is going to say they are there to prepare for and plan a potential attack. So the why is only going to depend on which side you ask, and I could draft what the response of either side would be, because as a lawyer, that's basically what your job is. But the why was never the question. The why was never the question. The if was the question. Why is an irrelevant question if they're not there. Once we've agreed that they are there, you can disagree with whether or not they put them there or facilitated their existence. To me, that's the same thing politically. It's the same thing. In fact, it's a distinction without a difference. But now that we agree that they are there, that was the only dispute. You can argue over why they should be there or should not be there. You can argue over what the rationale is for them being there. But you can't argue about the fact that they are there with a treaty being facilitated, funded, and organized in conjunction with, or dare say, at the behest of America. Okay, where were we after that? Let's close this one down. How do I do this? I'll figure this out. Okay, so remove that. Yeah. So in the beginning, by the way, it was Russian propaganda to suggest that they actually targeted bioweapons labs in Ukraine because, hey, I'm an idiot. Like I'm an idiot with Wuhan. I never knew that those things were there in the first place. I never knew that they were there. I can't actually say I even knew of the city called Wuhan before COVID. Didn't even know that these things were happening. But now I know, and now a lot of other people know. What are they doing there? That's one question. They are there. Now let's move on from there. What was conspiracy theory propaganda 2 weeks ago is now mainstream news where Victoria Nuland is confirming it. And by the way, I watched Ukraine on Fire. This is turning into an absolute meandering stream of consciousness. Hold on. Nuland picked Nuland picked Ukraine president in 2014. Looks like Russia just nationalized all foreign-owned property. Based Putin strikes again. Brave browsers FTW. That means for the Wednesday. I'm joking. I know what that means. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with based Putin. That is your opinion, and you're entitled to have it. Ukraine on Fire. You can watch it. I think everybody should watch it. Everyone will watch it with, what's the word? Not cynicism, but not skepticism, critical thought. You may agree with the message. You should nonetheless always watch everything, even that which confirms what you already believe, with cynicism, skepticism, critical thought. It's quite clear that anyone who doesn't like Putin is going to look at that documentary and say that Oliver Stone is being overtly forgiving. It's pro-Putin. I mean, it almost makes Putin look good, from the music they play when Putin's talking to the headshots that they have of Putin when he's talking. Oliver Stone dares to humanize Putin, which itself is going to immediately allow everyone who wants to write it off as pro-Putin propaganda. There's one. Write it off as pro-Putin propaganda to do so. But you got to, whether or not you hate it, whether or not you write it off, everyone has to watch it, because there are facts above and beyond what you might consider to be spin. But that said, in that documentary, I caught a clips of this woman who sounded like Victoria Nuland, who phrased an evasive response a lot like Victoria Nuland did with Marco Rubio. And lo and behold, it was Victoria Nuland evading a question asked to her by Dana Rohrabacher back in 2015 as to whether or not, oh geez, what was the question she asked? Oh, whether or not there were any Yahtzee elements in the Maidan Revolution back in 2014, or the Maidan protests. Whether or not there was any Yahtzee radical influence in those protests that led to that disaster of a protest. Her response was almost verbatim, almost pacing-wise, exactly her evasive answer that she gave to Marco Rubio, except Marco Rubio was playing ball with her evasion and didn't press her on it, whereas Rohrabacher was not playing ball with her and said, so that's a yes. Were there, there were, like I've said, there were Ukrainians of every color and creed in that, and that so the answer is yes. There were these Yahtzees in the movement. Yes. And whereas, with Rubio, there are chemical research facilities. Yeah, but are there biological weapons? That was the question Rubio asked, but Rubio was playing ball with Nuland and didn't say. So the answer is yes, like Rohrabacher did. Yeah. So that's that.